Environmentalists did score in the solar arena today. A new solar power system made its debut at San Jose City Hall just a few hours ago. The CEO of Armageddon Energy, Mark Goldman, joins me in studio tonight. Thanks for being here, Mark.
My pleasure.
So talk to us a little bit about the solar clovers that y'all installed.
So solar clover is taking advantage of some of the cost declines we see in solar today. We're basically created over the last couple of years a system targeted more at consumers and also non-specialist installers, so roofers, plumbers, and electricians, so that once we start producing them at scale, we can get them out there quickly. But it's a 1 kilowatt AC system. It's hexagonal panels. We use polymers instead of glass, so it's very lightweight. It's kind of an advanced material, but we also use standard high-efficiency monocrystalline solar cells. So it's an interesting, very easy to set up modular solar kit for consumers.
What are you expecting this to mean for City Hall in terms of energy savings?
Well, so for energy savings for City Hall, we're 1 kilowatt AC is our standard system. For a homeowner, that's all your major appliances. In California, that might be almost 30%, give or take, of your average household usage. For City Hall, it's a drop in the bucket. I think what this is really a stake in the ground that says Silicon Valley and the Bay Area are really ground zero for the solar industry and other aspects of renewable energy like storage and energy efficiency, some of the IT-driven solutions. So we ourselves are part hardware, part software. So it really is, I think, a sort of a statement that here we are with this interesting new system and a big ecosystem of people making polymer films like DuPont. Solar cells, a company in Georgia called Suniva, but they're funded out of Sand Hill Road. Tyco Electronics in Pennsylvania did an investment with us, and we use their connectors to kind of make it plug and play and snap in. So there's all kinds of people contributing to this. And I know we'll talk a little bit about what went on in Fremont with Solyndra, but that's a reflection of declining costs in solar, and that's very good for the consumer, and it's very good for companies like us that use that fundamental material, the solar cell, and add value to it by creating an interesting system that wraps around it.
Well, that's very good, and I do want to get to Fremont because Solyndra obviously made the announcement this week. They are filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, so less competition perhaps, but are investors a little bit more cautious? And does this make consumers a little gun-shy about, is solar really the next big thing?
So I think once the kind of media firestorm blows over, it's actually good for the industry because it draws attention to what drove that bankruptcy, which is the fundamental cost declines in the core technology of solar cells and some of the related technologies. So there are a bunch of different competing things, and thin film and concentrators and what we'd call plain old ordinary silicon solar, and that is just a very competitive product. $10 a watt 10 or 15 years ago, $5 a watt 5 years ago, and really $1 a watt at kind of a wholesale level to a company like us. So those price declines are just a good thing for the industry overall. But there will be winners and losers. There are some companies, and there's a lot of politics around this in terms of the Energy Department grants, and we as a small company have a hard time getting grants like that, which is sort of contrary to public perception. But, so that's a policy decision. For us as a small company, the underlying economics are what count, and so we do well with that.
Well, let's talk about that. 1,000 jobs were lost at Solyndra. So for your company, are you expanding? Are you hiring?
Yeah, so it's a little too early for us to hire. We have half a dozen people. One of those guys is writing software for us in Russia. We have contract manufacturing partners in San Jose that employ hundreds of people. They're by no means all working for us, but as we hit a growth curve, one of our major partners said if we're successful, they'll have to build a factory for us. And their last factory was in Louisiana and does employ hundreds of people, probably 600 or 800 people, something like that.
We want you to keep it a lot closer than Louisiana.
Right. Well, so the contract manufacturers, people like who Apple use, they're manufacturing in China with their contract manufacturer Foxconn, and guys like Hewlett-Packard use Jabil and Flextronics and some of these companies. We basically say if it's good enough for HP, it's good enough for Apple, then we follow that model. But most of the value-added work goes on here, and all the early manufacturing will go on here, and that won't change. There are a lot of good reasons to make even the solar panels within the U.S., especially given our kind of product, which is a little less price sensitive once we hit market.
Okay, so going back to what you said for consumers, a 1 kilowatt system is going to save about 30% off your energy bill because it's going to cover those major appliances, right?
Well, so it's interesting.
Was I listening? Okay.
No, well, I'll stop you there. So we're a peak shaving system, so you've got kilowatt hours and you've got dollars. So we might shave, let's say, 25% off your bill in PG&E territory. I'm sorry, off your usage, but that's almost 40% of your bill.
Oh, even better news.
And that's good for the utility because the peak shaving occurs when they need the power most, and that's what they do with other energy efficiency solutions. So our system's a little different in that we're not trying to sell you 5 or 8 kilowatts, we're trying to sell you 1 or 2, and it's all AC driven and this kind of thing.
So then as far as consumers go, what is your best advice for what they should be investing in? And for an average sized house, say 1,500 square feet, how much should you buy and how much should it cost you?
Well, so that's a really interesting question. Guys like Solar City and Sunrun, you don't pay anything up front. That's a finance system. We can go down that route later once we're in the market and we sort of have a financeable product from a bank standpoint. We definitely think that a smaller system is of more value to most consumers, and it's even of more value to kind of everybody else. If a lot of people then adopt it, you see millions of them instead of thousands of them. But it's kind of an individual decision. There are people out there who have 40 kilowatt systems because they run a little farm or a little wine. You know, there are big houses that use a lot of power. But for us, we're looking at a mainstream homeowner that 1 or 2 kilowatts is 60% of their power, and the rest is, you know, coming from base load utility power.
And dollar amount?
So for us, when we launch, we'd be about $8,500 installed is sort of the target price for the whole thing done before any federal rebates, which are 30%. State rebates are less. $350 in Northern California.
Right, so those additional credits.
Yeah.
Okay, about $8,500.
But that would be today. Like a year from now will be much less than that, like $6,000, and that's just manufacturing economy. So our first version is like a version 1 iPhone. It's going to cost a lot more than the version 2.
Okay.
We get out there, we sell stuff, we make money. We're not an internet company that can just throw it all out there, but although we do have some internet services, like a tool for installers. So we use software. We take a little reflector. You can take a picture of this reflector as an installer with your cell phone, and we'll give you a full annual production analysis, so any shading or obstructions. That's just a dumb plastic device. You take a picture. We do all the processing in the cloud in our servers, and that's an example of what we can do in Silicon Valley with software talent and the knowledge we have about distributing these things, because the alternative are devices that cost thousands of dollars that they use in Europe or here. And that is a big change, yeah.
Well, that looks great.
Awesome.
The future is bright, pardon the pun.
Yes, it is, yeah, absolutely.
All right. Mark Goldman, CEO of Armageddon Energy, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thanks, Vicki. My pleasure.